Any other tricks and tips I should know since I've never done this before?
So forward Q, if they type the forward sign and Q, it will pop up on the right-hand side in the questions box. So then we can see their questions more clearly, but a lot of people will write just in the comments. I'm actually tweeting it now and sharing that we're live. We're live.
Just came up.
Yay. Let's see. So my computer is slow, and sometimes if you see me look down, I do use my phone too. I use my computer and my phone because it's easier for me to type for whatever reason on my phone.
All right.
It's kind of slow. So I
see what you were saying about the lighting. This could definitely use the front light.
Yeah, so the lighting is tough. So I have an umbrella light right now. Okay. And that's only because I had an umbrella light. Like normally people wouldn't have one,
that kind of stuff.
I know. I'm like, don't look at my tricks. Don't look at my tricks.
You should do a behind the scenes. That would be awesome.
I did.
I didn't see that. Okay.
I did post one. I mean, I did post a video, and then I also did a picture actually early, or maybe that's going out tomorrow, of the behind the scenes. Okay. So, all right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and introduce you and myself. So hello, everyone. This is Sandra Gwines with sandragwines.com. And tonight we are on Biz Blab Brand. And I have Jessica Sells with me. She doesn't go by Jessica. She goes by Jess Sells because she's too darn cute. Hey, Katina. So Jess is a mindset coach. She's actually my coach, and I am just super excited to have her on the show. And one of the things that we want to talk about today is money, because a lot of people's money's funny, and I feel like it's one of those things that we don't want to talk about money. We don't want to ask for money. We don't want to have those money conversations. And a lot of it has to do with our mindset, our money story, and so many other things. And, I'm not the expert in the money area, but Jess has helped me a lot with, charging, closing, all that kind of stuff, and really focusing on why I have issues around money. So I think this is a good kind of opportunity for you guys to ask questions, because I know it's hard. It's hard when you have your own business. It's hard when you're selling something, especially if you're selling maybe a service that's not like a tangible, product. So that's kind of what we're going to be talking about. I am going to type my website at the bottom so you guys have access to that. And Jess, you can follow her on, where do you want them to follow you, Jess?
Oh, let's go with Facebook. I'm most active there.
Facebook. Okay. So on Facebook, she's Jess M. Sells. And I think it's linked in her bio, but I'm not sure. Is it linked in your bio, Jess? No? All right. I'll put it.
I have to set up a special Blab bio, because if so, no, it's not.
No, it's on your Twitter. Oh. It's your Twitter. Whatever's your Twitter is what's your...
Same thing. That'll work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I will link you guys to my website. And one of the things we were talking about, if you guys were catching the first few minutes of that, is behind the scenes of how I do my lighting and how I do my video. So if you guys are interested in that, you can go to my website, and it's sandragwines.com/video tools. And you can download the behind the scenes of this setup that I have here for my lighting and everything. So with that said, I'm going to let Jess say a little hey.
Awesome. So this is my first Blab, and my first live anything, actually. I have my own mindset stuff going on about video, and particularly live. So this was slightly panic-inducing earlier, but that's great, because just reminds me to get out of that fear place. And I love the hands. Thank you. So you need like background bio. What do you normally do?
So I always say, give us a little bit about yourself, like what you do, why you do it. And I mean, it's not really formal. So.
Okay, good. Because I don't do formal.
What you would say at a party.
All right. So basically I help women unfuck their lives. And that starts with the brain, mindset, and goes into their regular life, their business, and everything they touch. So mindset, strategy, and actual implementation.
Yeah. So one of the things I think is really awesome about this is because I've actually worked with you. So I feel like, I kind of know, I feel like I know you and how you roll. But tell me what you think is like the biggest challenge with people and their like setting their money. I don't want to say charging what they're worth. Like, what do you find is like the biggest obstacle with that?
There's a couple different things, especially when we're in this online world. We get inundated with messages of, if you're not charging at least X amount, you're not charging your worth. But that's not true. You're a human being.
Right.
Your worth is infinite.
Right.
So how are you going to put a dollar sign on charging your worth?
Right.
There are a lot of
Hi, B.
Hi. There are a lot of other factors that go into what you charge.
Right.
And at the bottom of everything mindset related is self-worth. But that doesn't mean that you have to charge X amount to feel worthy of yourself or others or what you're doing. And I think that's the first thing that a lot of people run into. Right.
I think one of the things that you've taught me is kind of like what feels good. And I never really thought about that before. I felt like what is out there and what am I supposed to charge and how is that supposed to feel based on what everybody else is doing. And when you gave me the like parameters, you know what I mean? Like do what feels good. It's kind of like, oh, okay, well, this feels good. And even if it wasn't what everybody else was charging, if it met my needs and it felt good and it was, satisfying my, feeling that my worth was being valued, by someone else, then I felt like, okay, well, we're good. We're good. So I think that's the biggest challenge though, is I get a lot of people will ask me like, how much do I charge? And, I always feel like it's like a worse question. Like, how much do you charge? You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of people, what will people do? They'll probably go online and they'll look up like, a zillion people in their same market or whatever they're doing that do the same thing. Basically, the competitors, find out how much they're charging, and then they pretty much charge similar. Is that what most people do?
That's what a lot of people do. Yeah. And then when you get into this online world where you're being fired at 24/7 from experts and just everybody.
Right.
Told that, oh, well, you're an entrepreneur, so you need to charge $5,000 an hour. Right. If you've never charged $10 an hour, $5,000 an hour feels crazy. And when someone asks you what you charge, not only are you going to just kind of freak out, shut down, totally freeze and panic.
Right.
It's going to come across as very inauthentic to that other person. And so when you tell them that price, they freak out and they take on that same feeling that you have.
Right. Because it becomes like an awkward moment. Right. It's like, well, I charge $5,000 or whatever it is, it's like that kind of feeling, right?
Right.
Which is kind of weird. So one little pause here, guys, if you see the hands at the bottom of either Jess's box or my box, that's kind of like saying you love what we got going on, what we're saying, and you're giving us some love. So they look like two little hands like this. Woo woo. So you can give us some love. The other thing is if you want to ask a question, you can do a /Q and I'll type one at the bottom and it looks like that. And your question will pop up in our question box so that we can see it clearly. If your name is not in your username, if you guys want us to know who you are, go ahead and type it in. So if you have questions, feel free to ask at any time and we'll be jumping back and forth between asking questions and kind of sharing a little bit about, kind of our money, our experience with charging and things like that. So to what Jess said, I have one of the hardest things for me, I remember, was feeling like someone would actually pay me for this, like you go to this place where you're like, okay, everybody's charging this and that, and you make up these packages and then you're like, nobody's going to pay me that. Nobody's going to open their wallet and take their credit card out and pay me for my services. But then you realize like, yes, they will. I mean, people pay for all kinds of stuff. And so, sometimes if you remove like yourself from the conversation, like I've done this before where it's like, okay, all right, it's not about me. What would someone pay for? Like people pay for all kinds of things that are not really, it's their priority. It's what is a priority for them and what they want to pay for. So, I do recall a conversation with my husband where he said, if I can pay you for 1 hour of your time, I would rather pay you for that hour than for you to go out and somebody else not value or pay you, that amount or more. And I was like, oh, so he's like, so you need to be charging more than what I can afford to pay you per hour. And I was like, wait a minute, what does that mean? And he's like, yeah, I can just pay you to stay home. Like you want to get paid what you're worth. So that was like eye-opening for me because it was somebody that I knew and trusted that was basically telling me like, yeah, this is great. Like you have all these business ventures and all this is wonderful, but you have to, at the end of the day, people go into business to make money. And I think that we get stuck in the passion rut is like what I call it. Like, it's like, I'm passionate. You talk about passionate. I guess. Right?
Yes.
So you get passionate and passionate.
We get stuck in the passion rut, and we also get stuck in this, oh, I'm here to help people. Yeah. You can help people and still make a good living.
I want to serve.
Yes. And you can
and
serve.
I do.
You can serve and you can help, and you do, and still make money.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. But we have this belief that if you're serving and helping, that's supposed to be free.
Yeah.
But why?
I'm like, yeah.
Why do we believe that?
But it has to go back to like, I'm sure you're going to share more about this because you're the expert on this, but I feel like my money stories go back to like things I grew up with. Like my mom always said, we don't have any money. There was never any money. I don't even know how we ate because she always said there was never money. There was never a time we had no groceries or lights or whatever. I mean, it was fine, right. But she always said we have no money. She hid the money in her Bible. Like she would she would open, she would, hide the money in her Bible. I recall we actually took money out of our savings to go to Disney because this is being recorded, people, but because she didn't want to pay taxes, I think, or something. There was something, my mom was a single mom. I mean, I'm not going to say how old you were and protect her a little bit. Yeah, I was like, my mom, unfortunately, she's rest in peace. She's not even here to defend herself anymore. But seriously, we were on public assistance or whatever it was. You can't have savings, so it wasn't like, it was like the little piddly amount that she had, like $500. She's like, all right, we're gonna go to Disney or whatever. Like, we're gonna take this money out because now they're gonna take my whatever money away. And I'm like, wow, this is crazy. It wasn't until many years later that I realized, like, no one ever showed me how to save. No one ever showed me like the value of money. It was kind of like you make money to spend money. Mm-hmm. And so there were all those things honestly were ingrained in how I feel about money as an adult, and my money story. So I'll let you kind of talk about that.
Yeah, we all have a money story. And for a lot of us, it is rooted in some very similar ideas that maybe it's not that there wasn't enough. There was never anything left over, or there was never anything that you could enjoy. And paying bills was about being hard instead of, you're paying your bills. That's awesome. You can pay.
You get to pay bills.
A lot of people can't pay their bills. You get to pay your bills. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Think about it that way. We're like, oh, I have to pay bills today.
Right.
That's awful. I hate it. So, such and such company's taking my money. The internet company.
But you're like, I get to have lights on in my house and food in my refrigerator. So I think those are like super key things. Like, I have a lot of gratitude. I'm always like grateful for so many things because I feel like I didn't, not that I grew up poor. If I was poor, I never knew.
Right.
I mean, I think we grew up just, with what we need. We had what we needed, nothing extra. But now I feel like I'm able to enjoy things in life. And sometimes there's guilt behind those things because since I didn't have it growing up, and then, maybe some other people that I know came from similar places or family or whatever may not, so you start feeling like, oh, well, maybe money is not a good thing, or maybe I'm not supposed to enjoy these things. And all that, I swear, factors into when it's time to ask people for money and when it's time to be, when you have to make a sale and close on that sale and get paid, So,
well, and what you'll find like a lot of people do, maybe they feel okay asking for the money. Right. They don't feel okay receiving it. So they can make the initial sale, but then it all kind of falls apart. So they get people to say yes. They get people who want to work with them, who are willing to pay them, who want to, like desperately want to work with them. And then they just disappear.
Wow. Yeah. There's
all sorts of ways this shows up. And it really depends on that money story and where you came from and what you've told yourself. We have a saying that we use a lot, just in society as a whole, and that's money is the root of all evil.
Right.
But, I mean, is it really? Is it money?
I like money.
Yeah, I like money. Money's great. So money's not the root of evil.
Right. Maybe and I like to, I mean, yeah.
And things that come with it.
So what would you say, like, I mean, mindset wise, I mean, how do you even start like breaking some of that crap down? You know what I mean? Like you have like all this, like, do you just dump that down? Like say, these are the things I thought about money, or these are the things I think about money. Like, do you even like just list them, or is that like making them, or is that like, if one of those things, if you focus on it, it will, like, do you focus on it and say like, okay, these are my money issues? Or do you say like, okay, I'm not going to focus on that. I'm just going to be grateful and change my mindset? Or do you have to revisit those things to kind of like be okay with moving forward with your money problems?
It's a little both. Okay. So acknowledging what's going on in your head and what's happening in your body when that happens in your head, that's super important. You can't do that by throwing it under the rug and pretending it doesn't exist. Like that will never get you any kind of result that you want. But writing it down doesn't mean you're putting it out in the universe, the world. It's not that you're telling God, whatever your belief is.
Right.
So you can write it down and say, you know what, these are the things I notice repeatedly come up for me.
Right.
So my story used to be, there's never enough. And that came up for me everywhere, in every part of my life. And once I identified that was a hard one to break. And I'm not going to say it's 100% broken, because stuff will always still come up. You're never like 100% cured of whatever's going on. You become aware of it and you're able to identify it. And when it does come up, then you can put the reframe on it. So there is enough. I am well provided for. I have everything I need. Maybe you can't take that trip to Disney right now.
Darn it.
But you could. You could decide to go to Disney instead of paying your rent or your mortgage this month. Right. So that word can't still isn't there. So I choose to do this month.
Right. And I think that's the big thing is like, to everyone who's like on the interwebs and in here, I mean, one of the biggest things that I find is like, we do, like you said, we choose what we're, grateful for, or what we're focused on, or, whatever it is. And I feel like that's made a big difference in my life. I used to feel like there wasn't enough either. I used to feel like, oh my gosh, like, we went from two incomes, to one income. And I realized like, wow, when I had two incomes, I was like, we don't have enough. And now we're on one income and you pay more and you have all these expenses and it's still, and you're like, wait a minute. It wasn't that there wasn't enough before. It's just that I was, not focusing on what I was able to do or not do. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, now I can't go to Disney, then I could go to Disney. And so at the end of the day, it's not that there wasn't enough. It's just I was doing, however I was managing my money or, my mindset, I guess, on, how much I had and what was left over was different than now. Like now I'm like, woohoo, this is awesome. Like, I don't want to go to Disney. I just want to be able to have the lifestyle that I have, and that makes me happy. And so for, you guys that are out there, it's like, I think one of the most important things to think about too is like, why the heck are you doing this business? And, at the end of the day, how is what your business provides you financially, how is that changing, going to change your life? Like, how is that going to push you in the direction of where you want to go? Because I feel like we could focus on, all those things. And at the end of the day, you're not even doing your business for the reasons that you wanted to do it in the beginning. Like if you're doing it for the money, I think most people say if you're doing it for the money, then you're doing it for the wrong reason. But I do feel like most of us are in business to make money, right? I mean, you need money to survive. So I feel like that's kind of like a, one of those things like cliche or whatever, but I don't think that's accurate. I think that we need to start saying, yes, I do this for the money, but I'm doing something because I'm being paid because I have a value, not just because I need the money. What I offer has value, and therefore people are willing to pay me so that I can have a lifestyle that's worth living, and is what I want to be, is what I want to do. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think there's even a step further from that.
We're going further.
So you can do it for the money. You can do it for the passion. You can do it because you feel called to do it. Or you can do it for all of those reasons.
Right.
Like, how amazing, if this isn't currently your life, how amazing would it be to wake up every day and do that thing that you are just so passionate about? It is what you live and breathe for. And you get money in the bank.
Yeah, that's like,
but why
that's like
not?
the perfect, it's like perfect scenario. That's what I'm saying. So
you don't have to say you're doing it for the money.
Right.
You're doing it for both. You are providing the lifestyle for you by doing what you love. And people are paying you for that service, for that product, for whatever it is that you are giving them. At the end of the day, they're paying you for a solution.
Right.
Whether it's a product or a service.
Right.
So there's just so much stigma attached to wanting money, to liking money, to asking for money, to receiving money. And there doesn't need to be.
Right. So I'm looking at the chat and I know some of these people. So I feel like you guys need to ask questions, or I'm going to start calling you out because I see people that I know out there. And just let me know if you have questions about, money, and whether it's, closing sales, whether it's, thanks, Jess, talk to us, people. Talk to us, people. But, I remember I sold some, when I was doing photography, I had some packages I had discounted really low. And then honestly, it didn't make me happy. Like I felt like I was like basically giving everything away, and people were gladly taking it. And it felt victim-y. I mean, I hate to say that, but that's how I felt. I felt like, oh, I don't like the way this feels, because I'm basically giving you something that has all this value and you're enjoying it. And I'm enjoying what I'm doing. But the fact that I'm giving it away, and at the end of the day, it's like, I lost sleep, time with my family, all these other things. It was kind of like, ooh, I didn't like the way that felt, at the end of the day. So I think that's one of the, like, the hardest part for me is like, how do you want to charge what you're worth.
Mm-hmm.
You want to position yourself in the market with, competitively somehow, right? And you also want to feel good about what you're charging, right? And so I feel like that's the, how do we get all those? It's like links in a chain. It's like, charge what you're worth, charge what you think you should charge because people are charging that. And then, that last little piece, which is like, trying to merge all that together. It's like, you don't want to feel like I'm giving away my services because I love what I do and I just want to do it. Because that gets old. I mean, I could say, yeah, be passionate. I love passion. If y'all know me, I'm all about passion. I do too many passion projects.
90% of the time, my take is if you're going to give it away by discounting it or whatever it is you're doing because you're trying to get money in the door and freaking out, 90% of the time, that's going to show up. And you're better off just actually giving it away. Because then you go into it knowing you're not getting paid.
That makes sense.
And that feels better than going into it expecting a much smaller amount because you're freaking out. And then feeling that victimhood and that martyr, I'm giving you so much. Why aren't you blah, 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 blah,
Why don't you care? Right. Yeah.
So if you're going to give it away, just give it away and let it go.
Just give it away.
And if that doesn't feel good, then that's when you have to start questioning what's actually going on underneath the surface.
You're doing. Yeah. So one of the questions I had, which is she's not on here now, but one of the questions I had was, let's see. She says, well, there were a few questions. Okay, I thought there was like one, but there were a few. Okay, so I'm sorry. This what happens when I'm like using too many platforms. All right, so one of the questions was, when it's time to close, I feel like I really don't know what to say. I get stuck trying to transition from like, here's everything that I offer, and then here's how much it costs, and then I don't know what to do. So
that is, first of all, that's a really common one. And I find sometimes, not always, sometimes it's more common when you're first getting started. And when you're first getting started, you're still kind of struggling to identify what it is you even do and what value people get. And when you don't feel like you've articulated that well, it can be really hard to make that transition. So sometimes it's not so much about knowing how to ask for whatever it is you're charging. It's about knowing how to showcase the value that you give and then make the transition out of it. So it's almost a two-pronged question. I know we've had conversations about this.
Yeah, you can share. I don't care. Okay. I'm pretty open. I'm pretty open. But
well, do you do you remember the first conversation we had about it? And
I'm like the first one.
The very first one.
When was that?
Oh gosh, 6 months ago.
Okay, back then. Okay, yeah. Okay, back then. Back in the day.
Back in the day. Last summer sometime.
Yeah.
You asked how much it was going to cost you. And
oh yeah, I did.
You did. And I said, how much is it worth to you?
That's not a good question. That made me feel like, okay, Missy, it's worth a lot because it was my business and it's worth it for me to make money in my business. It was worth it for me to hire you as a coach. So yes, it was worth it. Yes.
But it made you, you identify how much it was worth to you.
B, you can text me or your message and then I will read it within the other messages. I have a ton of messages. We won't identify you in the messages, in the questions.
And I'm not saying
She said I would
the way that I did that with you. So for
uh-huh.
context for everyone else, we have a history that extends further beyond our coaching relationship. We've worked together previously on other projects and we've known each other for a while. So that was a question I felt very comfortable asking you
Comfortable. Mm-hmm.
from that knowledge and that history together.
Right.
But it is something that in some situations, it's a really great way to make that transition because there are people who price shop and there are people
Mm-hmm.
who, you get to that point of the conversation and they're really not even sure they want to work with you, and that's okay. Or maybe you're not sure you want to work
Mm-hmm.
with them. And
Right. And I think, is it also I think also educating people, because once you give them like, well, these are all the things you get by working with me. I mean, any forum that you're in, if you're, you could be a public speaker, you could be an artist, you could be whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter what it is that you do, but if you've portrayed, if you've spelled out, this is what I'm offering, this is what my value is, like you're getting all of this working with me, and then go into that money conversation. I feel like the part of it that is tricky is some people don't know. I mean, honestly,
right.
They don't know what something you offer or what your service is or what your fee or whatever it is. They don't know what that costs.
Right.
Sometimes, like, it's like a number, like they maybe never hired a public speaker before. I mean, I worked in the nonprofit sector and I didn't know what things cost.
Right.
I mean, honestly, in that world. And I would get to those parts of the conversation and I would just be like, well, I don't know what that costs, so just tell me what it is. And I would have to kind of comparison shop. But a lot of people really don't know what things cost. However, if you are showing them your value, like she said beforehand, I think once you get to that closing part, they're really not concerned with how much it's going to cost. They're just trying to figure out like how they're going to pay you, like how they're going to afford to pay you and to work with you, or how they're going to invest in whatever it is that you're offering them. So, I mean, Jess works with different kinds of clients. She works with mostly coaches, right, Jess? Are most of your people coaches?
No,
not coaches. No. Okay.
Not
everyone's a coach.
The smallest section of my
the smallest number. Okay. So yeah, so I think it's interesting because you don't know. Like, I work with all different kinds of people. I work with people, that are service providers. I work with people that have tangible products. I work with all different kinds of people, and what they charge is different. Everybody charges different. So when I offer my services, it doesn't matter if you are a hairstylist or if you're a speaker, a professional public speaker or whatever. I charge the same price. Like, I'm not going to change my price because of what you do. And the prices for them might be like, whoa, well, I charge $20 to cut someone's hair, but I want to grow my business to do X, Y, Z, and you're charging, $1,000. Like, that's not within my budget. That sounds crazy. But then they're like, wait a minute, but if I pay you, you can solve these problems for me, or you can help me with this, or you can get me to that. And then they will figure out a way to pay you. So, I mean, and it's because becomes a priority for them. So, I mean, I know with Jess, like, when I started working with Jess, I felt like I didn't really know what coaches charged, because everything that I had done up to this point with consulting and coaching had really been kind of like, I was helping everyone, I was serving, I was doing, and I wasn't really putting a framework around it. So when I talked to Jess, it was kind of like, man, okay, I gotta get my mind right. Like, I gotta get my money mind right.
So one of the reasons I like that question is because it does give you that context of where the other person's coming from. If they don't know, they're either going to tell you or they're going to just throw out some random number that makes no sense in anybody's mind. They're just throwing out numbers, spitballing. And then you know where they're coming from.
So what do you do when, Okay, so what do you do when somebody throws out like a number that has like it doesn't even fall within the ballpark of like what you're because if you're at you so you are saying what is that worth to you before you
Hmm.
even give your number,
Not
then
always.
before you even say oh, okay.
Yeah,
But if you
let me just
were
add that. Not always. With you, the
but if
relationship we had. But when I do that,
right,
it's so that
right.
that education piece can come in.
Right. So what do you do if somebody's like, well, okay, you charge $3,000. I am looking at more like $100. Like
So the
you know what
education
I'm saying? Like
starts.
it's
Yeah,
out
I
of the
totally get that.
ballpark.
That happens. Um, the education actually starts even before you get to that part of the conversation. So ideally, we want to get away, in general, as business owners, we want to get away from charging by the hour. We've
Mm,
all seen these stories and, the memes and everything all over the internet about
mm-hmm,
the pipe that broke in the factory and the guy who came to fix it took him 30
mm-hmm,
seconds to fix it and he handed over a $10,000 bill.
mm-hmm.
Why? Yeah, anybody could have done it, but could they have done it that quickly and got production back up and running? No. So you're not just paying for his 30 seconds, his 10 minutes, his 1 hour. You're also paying for the value, for the knowledge, and for the fact that he was able to get you back up and running that quickly. And it's a little bit of a
So you said we should get away from charging by the hour?
mm-hmm.
Okay.
So you don't want to exchange dollars for hours, is how it's
Okay.
often said.
Okay.
Because you're not just giving them an hour of your time, whatever it is you're doing, whether you're a hairdresser or a coach,
Right.
or you're actually in the back end of someone's business doing the work for them. You're not just
Cool.
giving them your time. You're giving them your knowledge, your expertise. You're giving them little pieces of you that you're sprinkling all throughout their life and business. So that's not $10 an hour.
Mm.
If you
And like what you said about educating
Mhm.
too, that's important.
if you are, we'll stick with the hairdresser analogy because I just went there a second ago.
Okay.
So you're a hairdresser and I come to you, it takes you an hour and a half. You give me the best cut of my life. You give me this amazing color and like my hair looks better than it's looked in 10 years. When I walk out of there, I'm going to feel like a totally different person, right? Because getting your hair done kind of changes how you feel. I'm going to feel different. I'm going to look different. I'm going to walk different. That
Right.
affects more than just that hour and a half, 2 hours of my life. You just gave me an immense value, a confidence boost, something that's going to stick with me depending on how quickly my hair grows for, 3 weeks to 3 months.
Right.
So why would I pay you $15?
Right. That makes sense. Because you're not getting a haircut.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting a transformation.
Yes. And an experience.
That's how I would sell it. An experience. Yes. Exactly.
But there's
Um,
always more to it. And especially when you
yeah.
come out of an industry where you're being hourly, whether it's being paid hourly or your salary, but your employer tracks your hours, you get
Right.
used to trading yourself for hours. Well,
Right.
what if I can do it in 30 minutes? But it's just as good as what it would take to take 2 hours and do it. It's just as good or
Mm.
better. Does that
Mm-hmm.
mean that in that scenario of an hourly job, does that mean you should get paid less than the person it takes longer to do it?
Hmm. Yeah, that's pretty bad.
That's pretty bad.
Well, when you think about it that way, it's kind of like, okay, wait a minute. Yeah. No, I get
Like
what you're
how many
saying.
times in corporate do you sit there staring at the clock knowing if you leave 15 minutes early because you've been done for 2 hours
Mm-hmm.
that you're not going to get paid? So you sit there and waste 2 hours of your time trying to look busy so that you can get paid.
Shh. Stop talking about me. You don't know my life.
Actually.
I'm reformed. That was my old life. In this life,
but
every minute counts. Okay.
The whole reason I say that is because it applies to more than just entrepreneurs. It applies to more than whatever your industry is. Across the board, we have this thing where, okay, so I give you 10 hours, you give me X amount. But I didn't just give you 10 hours. You didn't just give me 10 hours.
Right. Because everything that we do has a certain value to it. So hours cannot be the measurement. I mean, and I think that's hard. I think that, and like you said, it's ingrained in our brain, especially, if we've worked for the man. Right. So because we're kind of like, okay, the man says, you work so many hours. The thing is, the person that's sitting next to you can do less work. Like you said, they can do less work or more work. If they're getting paid by the hour, it really doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, you're both getting paid the same, regardless of who worked the most or who did not.
Right. And I think everybody who works in corporate can relate to that frustration.
Yeah. Yeah. But one of the things that you had said before, which kind of like, I didn't want it to go away or just like poof, be gone in my brain. I gotta keep up. Girl. One of the things that you said was like educating your clients. Like, I think you can't get to charging what you're worth if you're not educating them from the beginning. So one of the things I tell my clients is education starts when you have your first like interaction with your person. So, you want to let them know. I mean, if you're doing business with someone, you want to let them know what the expectation of this process looks like. Right. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to talk on the phone, I'm going to walk you through these things. And then at the end, we'll see how we can work, how we can go forward working together. I'm going to do for my photographer friends, I'm going to ask you questions about what you're looking for in your shoot. And and I'm doing this because I just went through this with one of my clients, but basically from the beginning, you're like, on average, she does do on average, my clients pay, spend about this much money on portraits because she some people charge a fee and then they charge products on top of that. And it's really confusing. Again, clients don't know anything about money. Most of the time they're just like, I want whatever the end result is. And you have to get them to the money part, So, I'll give you, this is actually a very bad example, and I can't believe I'm using this, and my husband hopefully won't hear me. But I remember way back in the day, I went with a friend of mine to like one of those mall portrait places.
Was it Glamour
And
Shops?
they give you like a coupon. I don't know. They give you a coupon. It's like 100 pictures for $9 or whatever, but it's the same one picture, right? The same one picture. What? And they give you this it's one picture, one pose, but you can get like 100 of them or whatever for $9.99. Okay. And then they basically sell you like on all these other, things. But the thing is, they don't tell you that. And so when you go and it feels yucky, like it feels like, I don't want to be here. Like your gangster sales technique is, it's not fun, because you feel like, I don't really want to buy these pictures. I just came for the $9.99, 101 pose, whatever it is, right? So if they had told people in the beginning, I'll be honest, less people would probably go. But if they said from the beginning, look, people have caught on to this by now, but in the beginning, if they said, look, yeah, we're going to take 1 billion pictures. We're going to give you one pose. Right. That's all you get. You want more? You can buy them. On average, this is what people spend. You're in? Good. Let's go. Then I feel like, okay, well, now I'm educated. Okay, they're going to give me the one, and then they're going to sell me some shit, and then I'm going to have to go forward through the process, whatever it is, because you don't want to feel like it's something sneaky. So that's what the thing is with sales is I feel like you don't want to trick people
Right.
into buying your products and your services.
And so
you have to be clear.
The great point you just made.
You're writing notes? Me too.
The customer service matters. The customer experience matters. And them feeling that you are transparent and open and honest and a straight shooter, that matters. Nobody wants to feel like they're talking to, snake oil salesman. Nobody wants to feel like they're getting the wool pulled over their eyes or they're getting the raw end of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
So using that same photography example, and hopefully your husband is still in the other room. If
he's not paying attention.
If I'm just shopping prices and I'm not focused on the value, and you're not educating me on the value, then maybe you give me, 200 shots, all edited, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I don't know what your package is, right? You give me all these things for $2,000. And
that sounds about right.
And then there's this other photographer that I talked to who gives you 10 shots, unedited, and it's $500. But if you want 2 shots edited, it's an extra $1,000. But you don't tell me that those 2 edited shots are extra money. And I don't know enough to know to ask the questions. Are you editing these before I see them? How many am I getting? I don't know to ask these things. So I hear 500 versus 2,000. Nobody's explained the value. And I don't know enough as the consumer to ask. Probably going to go with the 500.
Right.
Because based on
but
what
then you're
going to
be disappointed.
Yeah, based on what I know, that seems like the better deal. And then I'm going to be disappointed when I get a bunch of pictures that aren't edited and I don't understand why they don't look as good as those other pictures that I've seen people have. And then I'm going to ask, hey, why does this look this way? Why does this look that way?
Right.
Can I get this? Can I get that? And you're going to be like, yeah, you for an extra $1,000. And then I'm going to feel like you lied to me somehow. No, you didn't, right? Like nobody lied in that scenario. But I'm going to feel a little betrayed. A little like you tried to pull one over on me. So that customer experience and that education right out the gate really matters.
Okay. And so educating them on what that customer experience will be is going to be the difference between charging what you're worth, right? And being able to get that at the end, I think, as opposed to having like an awkward moment at the end where you're like, okay, that's $5,000. And they're like, yeah, I don't want that because they don't understand what the value is,
So I've been, and I'll give an example here. I've been on many, many, many discovery calls with coaches when I was first looking to hire a coach. And it was such a difficult process. I didn't know how to get the answers I needed out of them in the 15 minutes they were allotting per discovery call. And so what I found, the coaches that I still talk to, whether I hired them or not, the ones that I still talk to, the ones that I follow, the ones that I really resonated with, are the ones who told me from the beginning, this is how I operate, this is how this call's going to run, and I'm going to help guide you through these questions so that you can figure out what you need to ask. And so 15 minutes of, oh, tell me what you want. And you talk for 5 minutes, then they tell you they have a great program for you. It's only $6,000 today and $6,000 next month. And you get something that they don't really tell you what it is. And when you say no, because you have no idea what you would possibly be paying that money for, then they tell you that you'll never succeed if you don't invest in yourself. And you're sitting there going, well, but I don't know what I'm investing in.
Right.
And then you get on a call with another coach who gives you, maybe they still only give you 15 minutes, or maybe they give you 30. And they say, so this is how I work, and this is the kind of support you're going to get. These are the type of people that I work with. These are the kinds of things that I help with. Now let's talk about what you're looking for, if that still feels right. And they help you see how they're going to help you. And so you walk away from that call going, I like this person. They're so upfront and honest.
Right.
And I know that if I spend whatever it is, I'm going to get X, Y, and Z results.
So you feel like the perceived value and then education, I would say, right, is like important. I'm writing the tips at the bottom, so that's why I'm probably look like my eyes are closed. So typing. I promise I'm not asleep.
Yeah, please don't fall asleep on me.
Almost. So if there's someone out there that wants to hop on and ask a question, I will open the hot seat. Just type in the chat box and let me know if you want to hop on, and I'll open the hot seat and you guys can actually call in and be live with us and ask your questions. I did have, so I'm gonna run through some of the questions that I had in the. Okay, so one was, hold on. Let's see. I feel like I should have my glasses on because I can't read nada. How to get an unsupportive spouse to believe in your dreams and financial goals. Oh,
I saw that one. That is
perceived value in education is important.
No, that is such a heavy one, and that is one that so many people struggle with. And there's the flippant answer, and then there's
just do you.
Yeah, just do you. He'll come.
Yeah.
But that's not really supportive, right? That
Yeah.
doesn't do anything for you right now. And it sure doesn't help you feel like you can take on the next day. It really depends on your relationship. And that's not an answer, but it is an answer. It really depends on your relationship.
Yeah.
How do you communicate? How can you talk to each other?
Right.
Does he understand?
And I think sometimes, men and I don't want to generalize. I hate generalizing, but I'm okay. My man is, he's like, show me the numbers, show me the strategy, he doesn't really care about the strategy, but he's but he does, he's like, write it down and show me what this is, how you're going to get from point A to point B and how it's going to impact us. And, what's the wiggle room and, how much is it going to cost, whatever it is. Like, I think you have to break it down. And a lot of times what happens is that when we're in that space, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've had tons of businesses, and I feel like part of it is, yes, I can believe in my business and be passionate about it, but a lot of times I don't know what the end game if I don't know what the end game for my business is, then my husband doesn't know what the end game for my business is. And he can't support that because he's kind of like, okay, well, you're just doing this magical thing, that brings in magical money, like from a tree.
In this personal development space.
Right. And I think it's hard, if you don't have I always say you don't have to have like a plan. Okay. So I don't always say this. Jess always says this. Jess says, nothing is permanent. Right. She's like, you make a plan for right now, and do that and try it out and then, go on to the next thing. So I think you have to have a goal. And so I feel like 90 days is always a good goal. Like, I feel like have like 90 days, like say, okay, I'm going to try this for 90 days. I'm going to do these things in my business to propel me to this goal. And then that's kind of like your, small little measurements that you're getting where you need to be, instead of saying like, okay, I need to make $100,000 this year so that I can, quit my day job and do this or whatever it is. Because you don't even know what it takes to make $100,000 in your business. So first you have to make like $2,000 in your business, and then $5,000, and then, okay, now we're getting closer to $100,000. But I think if you have those smaller measurements, that helps. And especially with men, I mean, they're like, show me the money, right? They're like, they don't, if you're passionate about stuff, and most of the people who follow me are women and who follow Jess. So, I'm going to say this, like, I'm speaking to my audience, which is women. And it's like, we are not good at identifying what the heck our money is for. Why do we need money? And then how are we going to get to the money? Like, what's the next step for the money? Okay, if you need, how many sessions, how many clients, how many whatever your business is, like, how many of those widgets do you need? I hate the word widgets, but I don't know what else to call it.
Accounting class. How many
widgets do you need to get to your goal and have like a 90-day goal? And so I did just make this recommendation today, was like, write it down, make it plain, do a little plan, show your husband, and, and see how that works, because men don't understand like the rainbow that we see. It's too magical. Like, we're like, we're going to water these beans. It's going to grow into a tree.
And then we're going to fly, and then it's going to be up top, and we're going to come over the head and come back down.
Yes, it's going to be awesome. So I think we just, they don't care about that. They're just like, okay, how much money are you going to make? How is this going to happen? And how is it going to impact our lives? And I think if you can answer those 3 questions, and you can really sit down and have that hard conversation and say, this is how we're going to make it work until that 90-day period, and we just keep adjusting as you go, I think that's a strategy.
Yeah, I think, I think for a certain type of man, that works. I know for mine, my experience is very different, and I have the benefit of being married to a man who has owned his own business before.
Right.
So he has a better knowledge of what it takes, and how long it can sometimes take to see things happen, and that it's not, you put up a website and the next day you have 100 sales. This is just not how it works.
People think that.
Yes, people do think that. There is a meme that I'm a big fan of, and it says, my business is on Facebook, gonna be a millionaire. And that's just not how it works. But if you don't have that experience and you don't have that knowledge, you may not know any better. So it definitely, it comes down, for me, in my experience, it comes down to communication and to, when he saw the change in me and that I was happier and more confident, and that I wasn't waking up with a migraine every morning stressing out about going into that job, that alone was worth it to him to be like, okay, cool, let's see what happens.
Right.
And so it really depends on the guy.
Yeah, and I think you have your needs, everybody has their needs, wants, whys, or what have you. And sometimes you need to find out what that is, if you're not going to have lights on, then okay, maybe you need to reconsider something.
Maybe you need to go get a part-time job.
Yes, exactly. So let's be realistic. But if it's like, if you're just kind of making ends meet until your business takes off and you're doing the work, because that's also the important part. You got to be doing the work. You can't just be like, my business is on Facebook.
Right. You cannot just create a website, put up a Facebook page, and then go and lay in bed and watch Netflix for 2 years.
Yeah.
And wonder why you're not making money. That is not how it works.
Yes. And so, that's a whole nother blab. It's like the blab of like, your business is not making money because you're not doing anything with it. Like you have to do the work. Like you're waiting for people to arrive. Yeah.
Looking down here at the comments.
KA Styles, type your name in, and I want to say Emily. Oh my gosh, and I'm like because you are on
Kelly.
another talk. Kelly. Ah, I'm sorry. You're not an Emily at all. You're like totally, and it's K-A. Why would I think your name was Emily? Don't talk bad about me.
She said it's all
All right.
good.
So it's all good. So she said, I wish my ex did, support her in that process. And I said, yeah, I can imagine that's hard. And she said he couldn't see past how much money do you make, didn't care about happiness, etc. Let me tell you, happiness to me trumps everything. I mean, honestly, as long as my needs are met, our needs are met, then happiness trumps everything, because I have found peace in ramen noodles at times.
Sometimes ramen is better than steak.
Yeah. If you can have the lifestyle you want, which is, my lifestyle is not about ramen noodles, but, if I can be, right now, my lifestyle or my why is I want to be home with my daughter. Like I feel like that's my why right now. So if I can be home with her, then I'm willing to change some things and change my perspective on things. And so I think that's important. So yeah, happiness. I'm all about the happiness thing.
And I think there's something, Kelly, I'm kind of reading through the rest of your comments here. There is a lot to be said for finding out someone cares more about how much money do you make when you found out.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually need to plug in my computer before it goes to sleep on me. So
before you die.
Before I die, I'll be right back.
All right. Okay. If anyone wants to jump on, let me know. I'm also going to plug in my computer, although it's not dying. But we are going to be. This is me. I'm trying to be creative. Hi. I plug in my laptop. So I can make sure I can stay connected, because now that she's gone, if I fall off, we're in deep doo-doo. All right. So one of the things I should have said before, and I really apologize to everybody else, is Snow Saxon was supposed to be on today. She's the money oracle. She actually wrote a book. She does a lot with money mindset, and she was a millionaire and lost it all, and then came back and found her money story. And so now she helps other people manage their money. And so I hope that she will be able to come on the show at a later time, but I wanted to let y'all know that she is not going to be with us tonight because she wasn't feeling well. And so we hope that she can come on a later show. And there goes Jess. Can you talk, Jess, so I can see if I can hear you?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. So, yeah, you can't be working 50 hours a week and feel jobless. That's how I feel. Yeah, that's true. But the other thing about it is, if you're working 50 hours a week on your business, then you have to reevaluate that too.
Sometimes, if you're in the middle of a launch
or something, yes. If you have a big project,
totally reasonable. If you're in the middle of a launch, especially in the beginning stages when you're not necessarily hiring out for help. And then there's also times and I notice this with a lot of women, we have this tendency to say that we're working when we're not necessarily doing anything that has anything to do with our business.
Like what? Tell me what that is.
So,
like scrolling on Facebook. Hold on, I'm fixing my.
Yeah, scrolling on Facebook. That's one of them. Or staring at the computer screen, wondering what to write. That's not working. That's thinking. And that's okay. I mean, thinking time is kind of necessary. But
all this time I thought I was working. You're basically telling me I'm not doing anything. Thanks. Stop. All right.
There's also,
bye everyone. I'm checking out of this. All this time I thought I was working.
We have this idea, and I don't know if it comes from corporate or if it's just a societal thing, but if we're doing something that's not what we would do if we were allowing ourselves to relax, then we're working.
True.
But reading a book on personal development is not work. It will
That's
help your
personal
work.
development. Yeah.
It will work. It will help you with a lot of things, but it's not technically work.
Right. Right. If I can drink wine and work,
is it really work?
I
believe that means you're an entrepreneur.
Spend 10 hours lollygagging. B says, haha, I work 7 to 90 hours a week since I started my business 8 years ago, but I'm okay with that. I would like to see that stop though. B, you need to see that stop.
What kind of business do you have, B?
And so the question,
I was say, while I wait for her to answer, to give a little more context to that, if you're providing a service, your 70 to 90 hours a week is a bit much. If you're providing a product, or if you are working for an employer, so if you're working for an employer, you don't necessarily have control over your hours.
Right.
If you are providing a product and you are making the product, then yeah, you're going to end up working more hours because you have to actually spend time making that product.
She's a social worker, and she works with offenders.
Yeah. So you're not fully in charge of your schedule because you're dealing with 5 counties and different programs and other people's. So yeah, I can totally see how you're doing 70 to 90 hours a week.
So one question that was asked, which we'll go back to this hours thing, because I feel like it ties into perceived value, but it's other people are charging, like other people have similar services, and you're charging X dollars, and how do you, everyone charges the same except you. You're like the golden egg, right? You charge different. And so you're seen, you're a special snowflake. And so you're trying to figure out like how to share, how to explain like why that value is there, right? So one of the things you said before was like sharing the outcomes, right? That the person would get, like working with me creates XYZ, so in a world where you're, maybe where you're like a social worker or something like that, where you have credentials, like I think we end up using our credentials. Do you see what I'm saying? Like you end up using your credentials as your worth, but your worth is not in your credentials. Your worth is in the outcomes that your services or program or what have you delivers, or can produce.
And that's another thing that comes out of corporate and comes out of the way society has been for so long. Hi, who are you? I'm Jess, and I'm a
blam.
I'm a cashier, or I'm in my former life, I'm a producer. I'm a manager at a retail store. Whatever. We tell people who we are based on our job title. But is that who you are?
No, I'm amazing.
Right. I'm looking at the comments.
Amazing. Okay.
So it's multifaceted, and yeah, when you have those credentials, it is. Oh, I'm a licensed whatever. I'm a certified whatever. I'm a fill in the blank.
So can you give us an example? Can you give us an example of how you would frame that so that you don't feel like you have to use your credentials to identify your value?
Give me an example of a person.
You can use me. I'm a nurse.
Oh, I forgot. Right? I forgot about that. Okay.
Yeah, you can use me as an example.
Right. So
I'm a nurse that has had all these businesses that have nothing to do with nursing, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Um,
I want to tell people I'm a nurse because I have a degree I pay a bunch of money for,
so
like I have
what do
all these
what do
letters.
I get out of your training as a nurse that I wouldn't get
Um,
from someone else, even though you're not a nurse?
I'm compassionate, I care about the people that I work with. Um, I think of your business as a whole, it's holistic. It's part of your life, not just like, this is your business and then this is your life. Like I feel like your business and your life have to kind of, it's like a marriage,
Right.
and it plays together. Your health, like everything is incorporated into how your business runs. So you can't just run your business like its own little entity over here. Like you have to be healthy. It has to like there has to be mental and mental wellness with your
Yes.
family and your relationships. So I feel like all those things I would be, those are things that I tell my clients are important. Like it's important for my clients to have self-care, to take time off. I mean, one of my clients was like, she couldn't believe that I was like, I'm not going to talk to you for Christmas week or New Year's week. Like you're going to take time off and then we're going to come back to that. And she was like, oh, like it kind of felt like, what do you mean? And she's like, I have my own business. So I have to work all the time. And I'm like, no, you have your business so that you don't have to work all the time.
You get to decide to take Friday off because you want it off.
Yeah. And so she did take the time off and she sent me a picture of her jumping at the top of a mountain. And I felt like, yes, that's it. That's the result. That's what you want to see somebody doing. But I think that's it. It's like going back to what we were talking about, I think that's the important part is like, I am a nurse and I know that there's parts of that kind of go into, what I do with my business. But sometimes it's hard for me to identify those because I want to say I'm a nurse and then I'm like, oh, well, that's not gonna, has nothing to do with my business. But I don't want to be stuck on credentials.
It does give you the background and knowledge about how stress and poor time management and all of these other factors can negatively impact your life and therefore
Right.
your business.
You're so good. That's why you're my coach. See? Can I write that down? Hold on.
Yes,
I can
write that down.
I can get this on the replay. Yes. Yes, you still have to feed your soul.
Yes.
But I think I think that framework is important. I think that framework is important when people are trying to share like how to give their value.
Yeah.
What the value is to someone else. Because I don't say I will help you brand your business.
Right.
I don't say that because people are like, oh, what does that mean?
Yeah. Like, what does that mean? Tell us. What does that mean?
Oh my God.
We've worked on this. What does that mean?
No, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you, all y'all out there. I'm going to help you save time, stop spinning your wheels, tell your story for your business, let people know what it is that you do, find your ideal clients, and package it in a way that you can deliver it out to the masses. So I think that is the hardest part for people because I want to say, well, I have a degree in such and such, so that's what makes me so awesome at what I do, but it's not. What makes me awesome at what I do is that I've done it before and I have the experience and that
it's you.
What am I doing? It's me. Yeah.
I'm pointing at you. What makes you so awesome is you.
Yeah. And so I think that's the hard part. I think, we don't ever want to identify that. We want to use those badges, like all those initials and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, there could be 10 people offering the same service that you're offering, but none of those people are you. None of those people have the experience you have. None of those people are going to go, through the hoops that you're going to go through working with your clients or, what have you. So think about the unique things that are in your value proposition. That was one of the questions. So I wanted to make sure we answered that. But yeah, the question was, how can you set yourself apart or, show your value when other people are charging the same and you're like that one person that's like kind of out there?
So another way to look at that, just to give a different perspective on it.
Yeah, Jess,
Um, I don't think I don't think Apple has ever apologized for their pricing. Ever.
ever. I know. And I got girl, they got me, look. You see, they've got me all all messed up. I mean, we're like suckers. I'm like,
Could I
ooh,
get the same phone, the same functionality from something that's like a quarter of the price?
yeah.
Yeah.
You got a new phone.
Yeah, this is the one I got about 4 months ago after I
Oh,
dropped
okay.
my other one on a day that I had 5 client calls.
Did you drop it in the toilet?
No, I dropped it on the ground and it shattered so hard that it turned off and when it turned back on.
They get all the
And
apps first. So is that what we're
yeah,
paying for? Are we paying for the apps first? I mean, I pay because I feel like I'll tell you why I pay. I pay because I feel like my computer is going to last a long time. It holds its value. And my phone, I feel the same thing about my phone. Like they don't get, they do, you can break it, you can drop it, all those things. Yeah, that's user error, right? But for the most part, they don't have like viruses and all this other stuff. So I pay for that, right? And then I pay to be like sleek, have my little sleek little.
there is a lot about Apple that is really just a status symbol.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I pay to be in the in crowd, right?
Right. I pay for the way it makes me feel. That I feel like my phone is easy for me to use.
Mm-hmm.
I know where everything is. I know how to navigate it. Even when they do crazy updates that change things, it's still pretty intuitive to figure it out, right? Play with it for a couple days, you're good. On the flip side, my husband is an Android user and still don't know how to use his phone.
You're like, I keep swiping over all these windows. I don't know. I don't know.
So for me, it's a convenience factor. It's what I'm used to. And then, we see it. So there's the status symbol aspect too.
Right.
But, they've never, ever, ever have they apologized that I'm aware of for their pricing.
True.
Even though they're at a much different price point than everybody else.
Let me tell you, I just bought a stroller. I might as well have bought a Lexus for my baby. I'm just being real. And nobody nowhere in there were there any other strollers that was the same price as the stroller I bought. And I bought this stroller because I'm running, walking. Well, I'm not going to say running. I'm not going to lie. Let me not lie. Okay. I'm not running. Okay. I hate running. I hate it. I'm walking at a brisk speed. Those bitch calls. Yeah.
Are you power walking in the mall?
Not in the mall. It's mostly like gravel trails around here. So I had to get like something with like big
wheels,
tires. Yeah, it's like off-road equipment. It's like an off-road stroller. It's a jogger stroller. But you know what? When I was in the store, I felt like, well, there was one. It was like $90 something, and I looked at it and it was like all chintzy, and I was like, I'm like, my baby means the world to me. I don't want to put my baby in that. Like, it might as well put her in a shopping cart. So, yeah. So I got this.
You paid for the higher price one because it felt better.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So you take this thing out of the box. First of all, the other stroller I had parts, pieces, things, contraptions. You had to put it together. I took this out of the box. I attached the wheels and I was rolling, and we went over bumps where before those same bumps, it would sound like jigga, 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 right?
I might have to come back and like screenshot crop that.
Yeah. So we went over the bumps that sounded like jigga, 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 and I went over them with my new stroller, and it sounded like, and there was no sound. That was the thing. There was no sound. And I was pushing the stroller with one finger, and I was walking, and it was tall, I'm tall and the handles are high and all this stuff. And you know what? I felt like I am paying for my back not to hurt, for my baby not to be, jostled all around. And tossed about or sound like I'm pushing a shopping cart. And so I paid for all those things. And then, yes, I kind of did pay to be in the in club because, I'm going to the little mommy thing and everybody else got one. And here I am with my shopping cart stroller and my poor baby's
But
all.
what is that? So like, what does that mean, right? Like when you pay for all of those things, you're paying for a feeling.
Right.
You're paying to
I'm
feel
paying.
good.
I'm paying for convenience, like the
Yeah.
convenience of like this thing. So,
This
that
thing
was,
works, that has been tried and tested by other people.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, and testimonials, people. Testimonials. Get them testimonials. Because I went to the store and there were 3 people that had the stupid stroller walking around shopping for other stuff with their babies in the same stroller. And I said, "Do you like your stroller?" And one lady said, "This is my forever stroller." And I was like, "Oh, this lady's crazy." Okay.
You might love your stroller a little too much, but now
I'm
you
like,
get it.
okay. But yes, and then there was a guy and he had the stroller too. He's like, "Yes, this is our second one. We have another one because we have 2 kids and it's a double and blah, blah, blah. He's like, the best thing." And I was like, okay. And so, I mean, all right, fine, take my money. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I need a stroller and this is
So
clearly the one. Yeah. So, guys, get testimonials because that is also, not saying that you need other people to tell people what your worth is, but I feel like to me, I'm a words of affirmation kind of girl. So I like people to tell me like working with you has helped me do XYZ and that, that I'm not crazy and that my product actually works, right? I want to know that.
everybody likes to feel needed and valued.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And so I think that adds to your value too, especially when you're, the person that asked that question is out there. And I know that she's had clients that and worked with people who can attest to the value that she offers. And so I feel like that is super important. Like you have people already that are willing to vouch with you. When I started doing this coaching nonsense, when I started coaching, I know Jess is going to beat me later. No, but when I started coaching, I felt like, I've been doing this from my couch. I've been going to have coffee with people. I've been doing this, and who cares? Like, no one's going to pay me for this. I mean, I've just been giving it away all this time. And then I was like, no, this has value.
And 2 weeks later, what happened?
Oh yeah, I got my first client. Yeah.
First paying client.
Yeah. So I felt really good about that. But one of the things that really helped too was I went back and I asked people that I had worked with before what that experience was like. And it answered those questions for me, that not necessarily what the value, like, not that working with me got them this, but what was the experience like? Because I wanted to know what, they could have gotten those same things from someone else, but what made them want to do that with me? What made that experience with me unique? And I was able to pull from that a lot of different things. And even now I'm looking back and I have people who have sent me testimonials for different things that I've done. And I look at them and I'm like, wow, when you work with one, if you're like thebomb.com at everything you do, just working with integrity, you're going to get people who are going to say, the best things about working with you, and so don't ever feel like you can't go back and ask people to just, tell you how it was working with you. And that really will help you too when you're looking for that value added, for that value proposition. And you're like, okay, well, these are people that have worked with me before and this was their outcome. And this is why I'm amazing. And this is why you want to pay X amount of dollars to work with me.
So the other piece of that, you can build the business you want to build at whatever level that is, 100% off referrals. To this day, I'm in my 3rd year of business. And I started off as a marketer who never marketed myself. And, you'll notice if you look at my social media, it's do as I say, not as I do. And I have built my business almost 100% off referrals. I've still never run a Facebook ad for myself. I don't really worry about a social media strategy for me. And that's really great. Like, that saves me hours a week of working in my business.
Yeah.
I like it.
I mean, that's what I've learned. I mean, I learned a lot of that from you too, but I remember, I just had a landing page. When I booked my first client, I didn't have Zhuzh. The Zhuzh. I wasn't Zhuzhy. I didn't have like the Zhuzh website. I didn't have all the bells and whistles. I didn't have all the things. And because I was using my previous experiences to create my branding and consulting business, it caused me not to be able to just transfer those clients over. So it's not like I could just take my photography business and say, oh, hey, all you clients, I'm just going to transfer you over to this new page. No, because that's icky, and no one wants to do that. So don't do that. Okay. Don't do that. So, but what I did was I told people, I said, look, you guys have been working with me for a while. You've seen what I've done in these areas. I'm doing something new. I've decided to take my experiences in branding businesses and helping other people do it because I feel like I've done a good job at it. And a lot of people ask me for help. And so I think I'm going to go down this road. And I'd like you guys to go on this journey with me. If you want to come down the street over here to my new page, feel free. If you don't, no worries. That's fine too. And you know what? More people came than didn't. And people love the fact that they were part of the journey, the adventure, this new path. And they were willing to refer people to me or to even, point out like, hey, Sandra's doing XYZ, share something that I did posted on social media and stuff like that. And no one ever looked and was like, oh, she doesn't have like all the bells and whistles and she doesn't have this and this and that. What they looked at was my, the referrals, the people who, commented and said wonderful things about what I had done in the past. And, I think that's a big deal. And in my business, I call that massaging my clients. And so I tell all my clients to massage their clients. And that means, every so often you continue to thank your clients even after you're done working with them, and keep that relationship alive, because when it's time for you to ask for something, it's not anything major or, complicated, to ask them how their experience was with you. You want them to remember who you are, you know what I mean? And so, be memorable. But yeah, I do massage my clients. I like to, just pop up every so often and say, hey, how are you doing? Don't forget about me. And then, at a later time, I may just say, hey, by the way, can you just let me know, can you share like what our experience was like and how it was working together? So, well, we have gone like way past our, yeah, it's like 8:30.
It's 8:30 my time.
And yeah, you're like, it's like super late. Are you like a late are you a late
no, actually,
person?
10 o'clock when we started this is my normal bedtime. So I'm a little,
I have 11:30 for me. Yeah, I'm like, it's 8:30 for me, but I'm my alarm Annalise wakes up at 5. So by now I'm like, okay, I've been up all day. My child is kept me up. But I just want to thank everyone that's out there on the interwebs that kind of logged in and saw us. So, one of the things that I would encourage you to do is go and check the replay out if you missed any parts of this. Check Jess out. It's Jess M. Sells, just like her name in her profile. And you can find her on Facebook and Twitter and all those wonderful places.
I'll just throw it in down here.
Yes, do that. So that you can find her. I will put mine is in you can go to my bio. It's up there in my bio. Click on it, find me. please share this with your friends. If you think it's useful, tweet it out, share it on Facebook, all that wonderful stuff. And we will be back next week. And next week's topic is about public speaking. So I have someone who's going to talk about kind of how to get out there and share and talk about your business. And it's going to be more about sharing your story, but I will have somebody who will kind of give us some nuggets about how to do that in a, not just a in-person public speaking, but also like this on video, because this is really hard, right?
Yeah, thank you guys for being nice to my first time.
Jess was awesome. So thank you, Jess, for being on here.
This was fun.
Smoochers, yes. And anything you want to add, you feel free to do so.
I'm good. If anyone has any questions or, whatever, send me an email, send me a message, and yeah.
Yes. And Jess is an amazing coach. So like I said before, she's my coach. She's awesome. And so I was excited to have her on here because she is not a video person. So she's usually a behind the scenes video person.
I'm usually the person who's got like my screen covered like this and,
Well, you did awesome. So I'm excited. And I'm excited that I was able to be that person that you were on with.
Yes, me too.
So. All right. Well, the replay will be live. I will send it out to everyone so that they can watch it. And good night, everyone.